Good evening, everyone. We'll begin the meeting by acknowledging the continuing connection of Aboriginal people to country, culture and community, including traditional custodians of this land, the Wadandi and Kaniang people of the Noongar Nation, paying respects to elders past and present. I declare this meeting open at 5 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded in accordance with Council Policy EMCP2. Members of the public are reminded that no other visual or audio recording of this meeting by any other means is allowed without the permission of the chairperson. While every endeavour is made to only record those who are actively participating in the meeting, please remember that loud comments or noises may be picked up on the recording. In attendance this evening, we have Councillor John Bailey, Councillor Anita Lindeman, Councillor Grant Patrick, Councillor Tyler Hall, Councillor Leanne Ringe, Councillor Reggie Kyoan and Councillor Alex Purick, and my name is Vivian McCarthy, Shire President. Staff present this evening are our Chief Executive Officer Nick O'Connor, Director of Operations Roscoe Marshall, Director of Finance and Community Colin Young, Executive Manager Corporate Lauren Clifford and Administration Officer Corporate Samantha Farquhar. And I welcome all those participating via the live stream. We have no apologies tonight and no approved leaves of absence, and we have no applications for leave of absence. So it takes us through to announcements from the presiding member. And we do have an announcement this month. Nominations are now open for the 2027 Community Citizen of the Year Awards, which are supported by Auspire, the Australia Day Council WA. The award seeks to recognise outstanding individuals and organisations that have made significant contributions to their local communities during the past year, or those who have given exceptional service over a sustained period. These contributions can take many forms, including but not limited to education, health, fundraising, voluntary services, business employment, or sport, arts, environment, social inclusion, or any other area that contributes to the betterment of the community. If you know someone who makes a real difference in the community, you can nominate them for one of four categories: Community Citizen of the Year, Senior Community Citizen of the Year, Young Community Citizen of the Year, and Active Citizenship Award for a group or event. The criteria for each category can be found on the Community Citizen of the Year website, where you can also nominate your chosen person or group. These awards will be presented on Australia Day, and nominations close on the 31st of October 2026. As I read those out, I'm mindful that last year, I think we had no nominations for the Young Community Citizen of the Year award. And one of our council plan priorities is around youth. So perhaps we can think of more of them this year. So moving on to item 4, declarations of interest. Division 6, Subdivision 1 of the Local Government Act 1995 states that care should be taken by all councillors, committee members and staff to ensure that a financial or impartiality interest is declared and that they refrain from voting on any matter which is considered to come within the ambit of the Act. And this evening we have 2 declarations of interest. The first is from Councillor Ringe, who has declared an impartiality interest in relation to item 8.1.1 Bushfire Advisory Committee meeting held 30th of April 2026. And CEO O'Connor has declared an impartiality and financial interest in 12.1.1, the CEO's Annual Performance Review, October 2025, May 2026. Are there any other declarations of interest? Okay. Right, councillors, I'd like to move that we suspend clause 8.2 of the Meeting Procedures Local Laws. Would someone like to second that? Councillor Lindeman, and all in favour? And that is suspended each month until we get the new Meeting Procedures Local Laws, because it affects the audio if we stand up away from the microphones. And we have had feedback about the microphones and the audio, so please lean into the microphone and turn it on when you're speaking. Moving on to item 5, public question time. There are none. There's nobody in our gallery today. And then moving on to presentations and petitions, presentations and deputations, and delegate reports. We have none under item 6. Which takes us through to adoption by exception. Would councillors like to move the recommendation to adopt, I'll just read them out, to adopt the following items en bloc and resolve in accordance with each of the executive recommendations. Item 7.1.1, the Ordinary Council meeting held on the 24th of June 2026. Item 7.2.1, Special Council meeting held on the 15th of July 2026. Item 8.2.1, Local Emergency Management Committee meeting held on the 19th of May 2026. Item 8.3.1, the South West Country Zone Committee meeting held on the 19th of June 2026. Item 8.4.1, the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 24th of June 2026. Item 9.2.1, the schedule of accounts paid as at the 30th of June 2026. 9.3.1, policy rescindment for EXE/CP7 work health and safety. And 9.3.3, adopt the new policy EXE/CP-18, privacy and responsible information sharing. Would someone like to move that we adopt those en bloc? Councillor Lindeman.
May I ask a question? And I understand that I'm a bit late, but I just did have one about the South West
Country
Zone meeting. Yep. Anyway, I did have one question on that. Can I ask that?
You may.
Thank you. Just that there was a commitment for $10,000 for the innovative industries of the future. I just wanted to check there was no mention of any tickets or opportunities for any member from any shire to attend, and I just wanted to check if that was going to be happening.
From memory, the original motion was to give $20,000 in support of the thing, and with tickets attached. But it felt, I think the argument, correct me if I'm wrong, CEO, the argument was that where would those tickets be allocated? And there was some disparity between some shires who had also supported individually and had paid as a sponsorship and had paid effectively for their tickets. So it was then agreed to contribute the $10,000, but without any reward or any tickets. So there were no tickets.
So there are no tickets, and we have no. Yep. Okay. Thank you. That's all I needed to ask. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Would someone like to move to adopt those items en bloc? Councillor Purick and Councillor Lindeman seconded. All in favour? Carried. Moving on to get through the en blocs. Moving on to item 8, reports of committees. And item 8.1.1, the Bushfire Advisory Committee meeting held on the 30th of April 2026. And Councillor Ringe has expressed her, declared an interest, but is able to be in the room. Would someone like to move the executive recommendation? Councillor Purick and Councillor Hall as seconder. Councillor Purick, did you want to speak to the recommendation? Councillor Hall? Okay. Is anyone likely to speak against the recommendation? We'll consider that carried. Moving down to item 9, reports of officers. And at 9.2, 9.2.2, the monthly financial report for the period ending the 30th of June 2026. I'll ask Director of Finance and Community to introduce the report, and this is a late report for the OCM, so I'm very happy for councillors to ask questions at the end of the report, end of the introduction.
Just to make sure he could hear me. Thank you very much, Madam President. Yes, the financial report, the final one for the year, isn't really, again, giving us any surprises. Well, there is still a fair bit of work to do on net current assets as we're still doing the end of year journal, so I would expect that to change quite dramatically from the current 4 million that it is and come closer to what was recommended within the budget, which the calculations that were there. The operating revenue at the moment, if we take into considerations the unbudgeted for FAGS grant, do a bit of an adjustment for the extra profit and loss that was non-cash, we end up with a 2.52% variance from actual budget, which is pretty close, and that's predominantly to do with the extra insurance we got for $168,000. So if it wasn't for the insurance, we'd be really, really close to hitting that on budget. The operating expenditure, I'd done a little bit of an adjustment on that for the loss on sale of assets again, which was non-cash and was never budgeted in the first place, associated with the Bendigo Bank and Reserve Street property. That though came down to 1% below budget. So our budget on our operating statements was just about spot on. Capital expenditure, there's quite a lot that are carried forward into 26-27. I did give council a list of all of them as part of the draft budget agenda at the special council meeting, so if any councillors want to look at them and see what is carrying forward, but all projects that weren't finished have carried forward, so there's nothing that has been removed, it's just that they weren't finished. And probably a point of note that to me that I see at the moment, we've got quite a large cash balance. We've got 12.5 million sitting in the bank before we raise rates. With that in mind, I'm looking at interest rates are going up. We've just put in some term deposits at the moment and we're getting back up over 5%. So the last one was 5.15%. So I'm thinking we're probably going to, before the year even begins, look at a bit of an uplift during the year somewhere on interest revenue. And yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director of Finance and Community. Do councillors have any questions? Congratulations. That's a tick the year off.
Yeah, the year's gone.
Would councillors like to move the recommendation, the 9.2.2 recommendation? Councillor Ringe, and second, Councillor Keown. Councillor Ringe, did you want to speak to the report? So the recommendation, rather? Okay. And Councillor Keown? Okay. Thank you. Would anyone like to speak against the recommendation? Right then, all in favour? Carried. Thanks. Moving on to 9.2.3, use of the Donnybrook Soldiers Memorial Hall for Anzac Day commemorations. Would councillors like to move the recommendation? Councillor Purick? I'll second that. Councillor Purick, would you like to speak to the report?
I will speak briefly to it. I think this is a great initiative. It's streamlining a process. It's a natural fit, and I think it's more than suitable to hold the breakfast there on Anzac Day. So, yep.
Thank you. I speak in support of the recommendation, and I feel the proposal is about recognising and honouring service and sacrifice in our community. And the Donnybrook RSL sub-branch has carried out the responsibility of organising the Anzac Day commemorations for decades. And this recommendation acknowledges that long-standing service to community and granting an ongoing opportunity for use on, or priority use on Anzac Day, and the waiver of higher fees makes perfect sense. And I feel it's a statement that Council values remembrance and values heritage. And I'd like to thank the Donnybrook RSL sub-branch for its continued dedication and service to our community, and also thank our Shire staff for bringing this recommendation forward. It's a practical and respectful way forward, so I commend the recommendation. Would anyone like to speak against the recommendation? Anyone for? We'll take that as carried. Moving on to item 9.2.4, the Community Engagement Framework. Would someone like to move the recommendation? I'll move it. Would someone like to second it? Thank you, Councillor Purick. I'm pleased to support this recommendation. The framework is about improving the way that we engage with our community by providing a consistent and transparent approach across the entire organisation. The consultation feedback showed that residents support the principles of the framework, but they want confidence that engagement will be applied consistently, and that Council will clearly communicate how community feedback influences our decisions. The revised framework responds directly to those concerns. Importantly, it strengthens accountability, improves reporting, and places a strong emphasis on closing the loop with our community. It also broadens accessibility by recognising that engagement must include both digital and non-digital participation opportunities. Adopting the framework will create a single organisation-wide standard that supports better decision-making, stronger community relationships, and over time, greater trust in Council's processes. I also support the recommendation to update the relevant policies by replacing the outdated policy with the new policy and ensuring our governance framework aligns with the contemporary engagement practices. But most importantly, I believe this framework supports our Council Plan objective to improve community consultation and engagement, and demonstrates our commitment to listening to and working with our community. And for those reasons, I commend the recommendation as it is supplied and encourage councillors to support it. Councillor Purick, would you like to speak?
Yes, I am supportive of it, but I would like to move an amendment. My apologies. I am supportive of this, but I would like to move an amendment to the motion, please.
Thank you, Councillor Purick. And your amendment?
So up on the screen there, so it is to update point 3, or add point 3, which is to update the Community Engagement Framework, final draft V2, June 2026, to include empower and a suitable description. On page 10, which is step 2, design, determine the level of engagement. I would like to move that and then speak to that.
Before we do, I might just get some guidance from the CEO, because empower, I think, implies making the decision. Yeah. I'll get some guidance.
Thanks very much, and thanks very much for the proposed amendment, Councillor Purick, and through you, Chair. You're correct, Chair, that obviously IAP2 spectrum is what regulates and provides that different levels of participation. And you're correct, Chair, that empower actually is really, I guess, handing the decision-making over to the community or part of the community. And I guess if I could make a comment that I guess the system of local government is that obviously for matters that affect the community and within our remit as a local government, Councillors have been democratically sort of elected to make those decisions on behalf of the community. I guess the reason why Empower was in the draft framework that you're considering tonight was not included is that from officer level we believed obviously that responsibility that's codified in the Local Government Act sits with the members sitting around this table. And then we did have a little bit of a scurry around to review the legislation, and I was just trying to think about a time when the decision would actually be delegated to the community without council being, or indeed the minister or another body being the final decision maker, and there was nothing that really sort of sprung to mind. But you have a look at the schedule in the Local Government Act. It talks about a poll, if indeed the very unlikely event that there's a proposed amalgamation or we don't have wards here, but if we wanted to change our boundary with one of our neighbouring shires, then there's an ability for a poll to be undertaken and for the community to request that poll, but the ultimate decision still lies with the minister or indeed the advisory board itself. So technically, you know, it's correct, Councillor. Empower isn't included as part of the draft framework, but that was a deliberate step undertaken or recommended by staff, only because we couldn't come up with a practical example as when that level of engagement, i.e. the decision actually going and being made by the community, would occur. However, I'm happy to be corrected and to take other comments.
So Councillor Purick, is it a lawful, CEO, is it a lawful amendment?
Oh,
We don't know.
it's lawful. I guess the question would be around, you know, and it's a matter for council, obviously. It's a matter around, by putting the word empower there, do we raise an expectation that there would be a reasonable belief that there would be an engagement activity where we would actually get the community to make the decision and wouldn't actually be council making the decision. So
All right.
I couldn't think of one, but I'm happy to be corrected.
Councillor, sorry.
Sorry, we just thought maybe just for clarity, we'll just bring up the IAP2 spectrum because it does provide that commentary. I think Councillor Purick that you're, excuse my back there, but you can see obviously councillors, we've got inform, consult, involve, collaborate and empower, and very clearly under the international standard, it's about placing the final decision in the hands of the public. So to my reading is it's saying there's a matter, it's a community matter, and it goes to council. Now, in other jurisdictions such as New South Wales and Queensland I've worked in, there's a mechanism under the relevant local government acts where you can call a community poll, which is like a plebiscite, which is like a referendum, and that is actually a legally binding decision. But I couldn't find the corresponding ability for that be a legally binding decision for like a referendum or plebiscite in the Local Government Act. But it's a very strong, and it says that you obviously place the final decision in making in the hands of the public, and we will implement what you decide. So it's basically outsourcing the decision making.
Councillor Purick, with all that feedback, would you like to?
Thank you, CEO. I would still like to move the amendment and to have,
All right.
have my say.
And do councillors have a second for that? Are you seconding or asking a question?
Well, I'll second it to get it on the table and let people have a discussion.
Okay, Councillor Purick.
Thank you, Madam President. So, yeah, community engagement on local issues ranked second only behind local roads. And it's great to see the community engagement framework and the work that's being put into it. But given the importance that the community had placed on it, it's all the more reason to get it right. So really, when we get down to it, what are we trying to achieve through community engagement? Realistically, I see it boiling down to either communicating that a strategy exists or making a strategy better with community voices. And sometimes those voices need to be empowered. As we've spoken before, IAP2, which is the International Association for Public Participation, on their consultation matrix, it's got the levels of participation: inform, consult, involve, collaborate, and empower. And as we've just heard, the draft framework doesn't use empower, neither does the policy. The rescinded policy, COMD/CP3, that does include empower. Now, if we're going to take the feedback from the community survey seriously, we need to develop a bulletproof community engagement framework, and I believe that includes Empower. The framework is fantastic, but yeah, it just falls short. And just having a look at the framework here, so we've got inform, consult, involve, collaborate, but it's ensure expectations are realistic and match the resources available. So the decision to use the Empower consultation, that's not going to be made every time. It is not always going to be the appropriate tool in the repertoire, but there are times where it could be used. If I'm to use this framework as our elected members, so what will we do? What are our priorities? We provide the overall leadership and demonstrate commitment to community engagement, championing transparency and accountability. And we listen to community views and incorporate these perspectives into decision making, ensuring that those decisions reflect both strategic priorities and community aspirations. Now, prior to sitting in council, I still am a member of the Brookhampton Progress Association, the Underdog BPA. But in those meetings, we would talk at length about empowerment, about self-determination, about the Brookhampton Progress Association being able to make decisions, real lasting decisions, owning them, being responsible for them, and being accountable for them. We have to just look at item 10.1.1 on tonight's agenda. Community members wanting to be empowered to be accountable. Looking through some feedback of the, I believe this is the council plan, sorry, but community members wanting to be empowered to use less consultants, to make decisions themselves, to do work themselves. Yeah, look, I recognise that empowering is hands-on and resource heavy, but if we're going to be transparent and accountable, I believe we do need to have Empower in this community engagement framework. It's not always going to be the right tool for the job, but there will be times when I believe our community should be empowered to make decisions. Thank you. I ask you support this.
Thank you, Councillor Purick. Councillor Lindeman?
Thank you. To the chair, look, I feel like I know possibly where this motivation comes from, but I feel empowerment comes from individuals wanting to do something within their own communities and their groups. Now, in this community framework consultation report, I think there was only 13 submissions. So the empowerment was given to the people to submit something if they wanted to, and that was the result. I'm not sure if that's correct. And then to support in principle the framework, particularly inclusion, transparency, respect and accountability, that framework allows people to act within it. So I feel that they have the opportunity to, whether they want to put a petition forward or want to act within their community, but I don't know that it necessarily needs to be, in the actual wording within that framework. So I got it on the table, but I feel that I think the framework's there to give people that opportunity to respond when needed, and it's a consistent framework so that no matter what happens, they know that there's a place, there's going to be some consultation, and there's going to be a process that they can follow to get involved if they wish. That's the empowerment that I see.
Thank you, Councillor Lindeman. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Councillor Patrick?
Thank you. Look, I agree with both sides, and I agree that empowerment is a great thing to have, and I think it's a needed thing to have. But with that comes significant risk that I see can't necessarily be mitigated. When you're talking about an entire shire and ratepayers from across an entire shire that are contributing to the funds and the direction of the shire, having small individual groups trying to do their own initiatives that potentially will result in them making a decision that we will be required to implement in accordance with the IAP2 puts the shire finances at risk, and I think there will always be bias within those groups. So they'll have their own target audience, they'll have their own interests at heart, and not necessarily looking at the broader impact on the broader community. And as such, I 100% agree with the concept, and even looking at the IAP too, collaborate, basically strengthening that partnership between the Shire and the community groups is, to me, probably a better avenue to go down. But to use the word empower based on the definition as it sits, I think poses risk to the broader community and ratepayers, and potentially the Shire councillors and administration, insofar as decisions being made by small particular groups that aren't necessarily representative of the broader community and those costs associated. So I would encourage not to support this amendment. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Would anyone like to speak for the amended motion? We'll put that to vote. Sorry, Councillor
Through
Bailey?
the chair, could I have a question?
Yes?
I understand what you're trying to do. In a situation like mining, say at Yabrub or wherever it is, how would you see it working in that sort of a situation?
I'll take guidance on that question, as it sounds directly of Alex. Yeah, how does he see it working? Is that it? If that's allowed, Alex just controls. Right. Councillor Pury?
So I would envision a community group has worked with the Shire, so say out at Yabrub trying to build a new park, they have worked with the Shire, they've developed somewhat of a framework.
Can we not use an example that's
My
in the-
apologies,
yeah.
my apologies.
Thank you, Councillor
A
Pury.
community group has worked with the Shire on a proposal, on a project. They've gotten to a certain stage where there is some decisions need to be made. The Shire would say, look, we've got the resources, we would like you to tell us what you want to do with this. We generally support it. A relationship is being built, there is trust with that community. That community group would then consult amongst themselves, they would advise, this is what we would like to see happen, and the Shire would say, yep, great, we support that. The Shire has made a pre-commitment to support the decision. The Shire wouldn't go down the empower route lightly. You would have to have built trust with that community group. You're not just going to straight up say, yeah, do what you want. You have worked with them, but ultimately would say, look, we trust you, we've worked with you, you have got a vision for this, tell us what you want, and we will strive to make that happen within reason. Really, we're not going to build a $1 million park if it's a little pocket project or what have you, but yeah, empowering local community groups to have some self-determination and make a decision.
Thank you, Councillor Purig.
May
Councillor
I
Linton?
ask a question?
Yes.
What if the empowered group, the Shire doesn't agree with it?
What if what, sorry?
The empowered group come to the Shire and the Shire don't agree with it,
I'm-
based on lots of reasons. Could be financial, could be land usage, could be and numerous different things. So I guess the question is, when you use the word empowered, the answer could still be no, and where does that leave you?
I think that's a rhetorical question without me having to go another way. So I think we'll park that there. I would like to speak against the motion, the amended motion. Immediately in this conversation, I see that there needs to be a framework of authorities. I can't understand how the Shire is going to still approve it if the community group's empowered. So I see that there's, and within reason, came to, I think I heard you say, Councillor Purik, where's the framework that says what's reasonable and what's not? So to say empower and not have a structure around it, not have some bridge to delegated authorities or something, I feel very cautious and feel like perhaps it needs more consideration down the track. So I would encourage councillors not to accept this amendment, and perhaps it's something you can think about, and then in the next revision have another look. Would anyone else like to speak to the amended recommendation? All right, councillors, we'll put that to vote. Oh, sorry, right of reply. Sorry. Thank you.
Yes, look, ultimately there may be some risks involved in it. I see that if we are to take community engagement on local issues seriously, we should be strengthening our community engagement process. I believe that by removing Empower from our policy, we are in fact weakening it. I believe that Empower should be in our policy. It has previously been, so I urge you to support this. We need to strengthen it, not weaken it.
Thank you, Councillor Purick. We'll put that to vote. All those in favour of the amended motion?
Councillor Purick,
And all those against?
Councillors
defeated.
Bailey, Hall, Kean, Lindemann, McNabb, Patrick, Ringe and President McCarthy.
That's defeated. That will bring us back to the substantive motion, which was raised by myself and seconded by Councillor Purick. Would anyone like to speak against the substantive motion? Councillor Purick?
As I've previously just said in my amendment, I believe that
Sorry, Councillor Purick, I actually think you've spoken.
No, I spoke on the amendment. I moved straight to the amendment.
Okay, but you've moved the amendment though.
Yep, and so now we're back at the substantive, and
Yes,
I
but
didn't.
your
I didn't
opportunity
speak on
to
this.
speak was at when you moved unless I'm wrong? When he's moved the amendment, that was.
No worries, you know where I stand.
Yes, yeah. You seconded, okay. So would anyone like to speak against the substantive motion? Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, question please, sort of going backwards unfortunately. I understand empowering is a great thing for the community. Do we follow up by saying that the final decision then is with council to confirm it? So we're giving them the power, it can't do that?
I didn't hear that, I'm sorry, John. Was that it? Were you talking against the motion?
That was a question.
A question? I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Empowering the community I think is a good idea, but do we follow that up by saying that the final decision is with council?
I can probably answer that. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, that car went by just as you
Sorry,
finished.
I think so. I think the question from Councillor Bailey was, can we still include as part of the IAP2 spectrum the concept of empower? However, put a caveat in there that the final decision rests with council. But I guess probably going back to the principles under that internationally adopted framework, no, actually, empower is actually handing the decision over. And going back to my opening remarks, I couldn't think of a. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to step into the debate. So.
Thank you.
Now, would anyone else like to speak for or against the substantive motion? Councillor Ringe?
Yes, thank you, President McCarthy. I'd like to speak for this motion. I feel that it's a very well document. It's actually very clear, and it actually goes to has a couple of specific points which have resulted from community consultation, and one of them is closing of the loop. And it's not just a single action, it's also to help communities understand, where community engagement is at, and also at the end result as well, because they'd like to know if we've listened and what actions that we've done or what amendments have we done to sort of bring in that feedback and those comments. So I'd like to also thank people who have submitted some feedback on this. And the other thing I really liked about was the roles and responsibilities are very clear. And I think that's important for all parties to this framework. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ringe. Would anyone like to speak for or against the motion? Thank you, councillors. We'll put that to vote. I've said all that I need to say as a right of reply. I'll put that to vote. CEO, are you all right? Yes. Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were about to press your mic. All those in favour? And all those against?
Councillor Purick.
Moving on to item 9.3, Chief Executive Officer's reports. And at 9.3.2, we have the council plan. And I would like to move the executive recommendation. Would councillors like to second? Councillor Hall? I believe this plan reflects a shared vision for the future of our Shire. It has been developed in partnership with community. It captures the aspirations, priorities and values of the people that we serve. It respects the distinct character of each of our towns, our hamlets, while recognising the connections and the strengths and the shared values that unite us as one community. I firmly believe in the importance of understanding where we are now and where we want to be and how we intend to get there. This plan does exactly that, and it provides a clear roadmap for our future, grounded in the realities of today, while setting an ambitious and achievable course for tomorrow. Importantly, the plan acknowledges the journey of our council, community and Shire have travelled together since the appointment of a commissioner in 2022. We have navigated a significant period of reflection, regrouping and renewal, and we have worked hard to rebuild confidence, strengthen relationships and restore trust. And today we're in a very, very different place, where we have now had the opportunity as a connected and engaged community to undertake a comprehensive review of our future direction, which is very exciting. The result that we have here is a plan that is both exciting and practical. It is future-focused, yet it is realistic. It provides a framework that will guide decision-making, prioritise resources, and support the continued growth and prosperity of our Shire over the next decade. Most importantly, it reflects the council and community that are moving forward together with confidence and a shared commitment to a strong and sustainable future. I would like to sincerely thank everyone who contributed to the development of the plan, those who participated in the market survey, attended workshops, engaged during consultation periods, and took the time to share their views and their ideas. Your input has directly shaped the document as it is today. I would like to acknowledge and thank our staff for their expertise and their commitment throughout the process. They have listened carefully, analysed extensive community feedback, and brought this together into a plan that genuinely reflects the aspirations of the community. And finally, I'll thank fellow councillors. This is the culmination of this major four-yearly review is the culmination of the whole process, and I encourage you to support its adoption. By doing so, we will provide clear direction for our organisation, certainty for our community, and a strong foundation for the years ahead. And I urge you, quite strongly, to vote in favour of its adoption. And Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to propose my amendment motion, please.
Would you like me to read that, Councillor Hall? Leave everyone to read it? Okay.
Yep.
You'd like to move that?
Do you want me to read it out first? Is that okay?
You want it read out?
Yeah, I can read it out.
I
Yep.
thought you said no.
I said,
Okay. Councillor Hall's amendment includes a fourth prong to the recommendation, to request the Chief Executive Officer to undertake an internal desktop review of the council plan no later than 2 months following the release of the Australian Bureau of Statistics 2026 census data, or the July 2027 Ordinary Council meeting, whichever occurs first, and present a report to Council that 4.1 updates the demographic, population and community profile information contained within the Council Plan. 4.2 recommends any amendments to improve the clarity, readability and accessibility of the document. 4.3 assesses whether the Council Plan clearly communicates Council's long-term strategic direction and the distinct governance responsibilities of the elected Council and Chief Executive Officer. 4.4 provides options to more clearly distinguish within the integrated Council Plan the components that establish Council's long-term strategic direction from those that communicate the organisation's planning, resourcing and delivery responsibilities, recognising the distinct governance purposes formerly served by the Strategic Community Plan and Corporate Business Plan. And 4.5 recommends any legislative governance or best practice improvements identified since the adoption of the Council Plan.
Thank you.
President McCarthy, can I ask a question before you ask for the seconder on this?
Have we got it moved?
So you moved it.
You've moved it? Yep, okay. Yes, go.
Just the question is this changing the intent of the original motion instead of an amendment?
CEO, would you like to respond?
I guess it's ultimately a call for yourself, presiding member, but my sort of off-the-cuff response would be no. It's just it's probably just acknowledging that there is that inbuilt review process and providing a few parameters and some guardrails around some of the scope of that review over and above your normal statutory review, annual review. So I'm comfortable with that it's an amendment as opposed to a new motion, but that's ultimately a decision for yourself.
Councillor Lindemann.
Not
It's
sure
a
this is
question.
a time, but I just have a very small amendment also that I wanted to add, but it comes with a number of questions prior. So do you want that amendment? My computer's frozen.
We haven't got this one seconded yet.
Yep.
Oh.
You can only have one amendment
Okay,
at one
yep,
time.
I will wait.
You could foreshadow.
All right.
Foreshadowed. It's just a small amendment. Thank you.
Maybe wait till this one's seconded, and then
Foreshadow.
Councillor Lindemann may wish to foreshadow a future amendment or not.
Okay. All right. So we'll wait till this amendment has been see if it's seconded, and then we'll foreshadow yours. Okay. I have a question to ask before we. I have a question to ask the CEO before we go further into debate. Does this? What's the normal process for reviewing? What's the next step in reviewing our council plan normally? Like, what's the normal review process?
So it's and correct me if I'm wrong here, Ms. Clifford, it's a requirement for there to be an annual review. I think Ms. Clifford may have outlined in the briefing, at the agenda briefing session, we were looking at actually kicking off that review in January next calendar year, as in January 2027, with a report to then go up in time for the following financial year and budget. Obviously, given the fact that this has been quite an extensive consultative period, over the passage of times, things change, budgets change, so that would be part of the review process. So we'll be looking at kicking that off in January, looking around the years. So you'll note that there's sort of the financial years or the priorities of which a number of the detailed initiatives are spread. So it's just an opportunity to do a check and balance around whether that spread or those proposed years for those council plan deliverables will be delivered. Is that still appropriate? And then obviously then check back in with the budget, given the passage of time as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions before we keep moving? Taking into account that's pardon us, a long amendment. All right. Would someone like to second the amendment? Councillor Bailey? Councillor Hall, would you like to speak to the amendment?
I will, thank you, Madam President. Yes, I agree that that amendment is wordy, but hopefully, as the CEO surmised, it is just a tack on the end of something just to put a few guardrails around that process. So appreciate that understanding. Just want to speak briefly on this. Firstly, just to be clear, I do support the council plan in its form at the moment. I just want to make it clear that my amendment's not to delay the adoption of this council plan, nor is it a criticism of any work undertaken by the officers. I know the considerable amount of work and passion that's been put into this by everyone involved, and that is noted. So during my review of the document, probably one of my big frustrations was just not the strategic direction of it all. It was probably just that I found it difficult to distinguish between council's long-term strategy steps and how that all merged through the document and the deliverable execution of those strategy initiatives. So this amendment just recognises that this is a new planning framework and it's still within a period of change and significant legislative reform. We all also know that the 2026 census data will become available in the next few months after, that is in August 26. So that gives us opportunity to do a review. And that evidence in this document will also add more value to our future decision making with a better understanding sooner of our demographic. So yeah, rather than waiting for the next major review, it's probably just a good governance to undertake this desktop review. And hopefully it should come as no surprise that, as I stated in point 4.4, talking about the distinguishing roles in the previous plans, that's probably the objective for this motion, is just to make sure that that's clear and that myself and future elected members are able to use it well as intended. So just to be clear that we do have distinct responsibilities under the Local Government Act, and in the current form it's kind of hard to understand that. So while this amendment doesn't prescribe any solutions, it's just a simple ask for the CEO to review the document through that governance lens and report back to Council on how the newly integrated council plan can more clearly communicate those distinct roles while remaining a single and integrated document. I think this shows good governance and continuous improvement in how we work in the Shire, and I seek the support of my fellow councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Bailey?
No, thank you.
Okay. Would anyone like to speak against the recommendation?
I have a question, if I may.
Yes, Councillor Lindeman.
So the release, following the release of the Australian Bureau of Statistics 26 census data, that actually doesn't become available, I think, until July 27. Yeah. So it's not necessarily a massive change to what you would probably have to do, although if you're talking about doing it in January, then you'd be talking about doing it in July as well. Is that, or would you hold over and wait till July? Is that the directive of 2027 and do all of those things by July 2027?
I really hadn't turned my mind to it, Councillor, obviously, and don't want to be disparaging towards Councillor, but yeah, this only was raised in this afternoon, so I haven't really turned my mind into what impact this could or may or may not have. Obviously, we will, if indeed this motion or this amendment is passed and the motion is substantive motion is passed, then we will look at adjusting timeframe for review to accommodate that as much as possible.
May I ask one more question then? If you were working towards the timeframe of January as the year to amend the plan, would you in fact then be doing your requirements, legislative requirements and governance requirements, if you held off not doing it in the January and going to the July 27?
I'll just, yeah, I might just take some further advice. Sorry. So what's the, so under the letters, which we need to do a major review every 4 years. Yeah. Yeah, so. Yeah, yeah. So look, Councillor, look, off the cuff, there is a requirement of major review every 4 years, and then you do your annual review. Yeah, look, we were planning to bring it up by 30th of June to make sure we sort of comply. I guess if we're the 22nd of July, as long as it gets up by the corresponding meeting, that annual review by the corresponding meeting next year, that should be fine. Yeah, it's still within that, or that 12-month period. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before we move along? Anyone like to speak against the... Oh, question? No. Anyone like to speak against the amended motion? Speak for the amended... Thank you, Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. Look, the amended motion I'm more than happy with, and speaking for the entirety of the recommendation, including the amendment. Look, I just wanted to really acknowledge some of the feedback from community. Particularly, there's quite a number of areas of feedback from the Balingup community around the value statement. The value statement. Sorry, the vision statement. And just wanted to flag it, put it out there that that was developed with significant consultation. It is mentioned in the report there, but a significant portion of that consultation was conducted in Balingup. So I think pretty much 50% of the workshops were done, if I'm correct, with the Balingup community, as well as then obviously the Donnybrook community. And so whilst I acknowledge the feedback from the members of the Balingup community, wanted to put it on public record that it was community feedback that led to the change or the proposed vision statement, which was different to what was initially in the draft. And in addition to that, there's a bit of feedback there saying, it's a copy and paste from previous and so on and so forth. It is a review of a council plan. It's 4 years in the making, and that 4 years hasn't resulted in, an intergenerational change within the community. So you would generally think that a lot of the things that were important to the community members still remain important to the community members. So whilst a lot of the general themes are similar, I think that's based on community sentiment that, realistically doesn't necessarily change in the space of 4 years. So I just wanted to reassure that there has been a lot of work done, community consultation, and the consultants have spent a lot of time making sure that it was reflective of the feedback they received. But in general, happy with it as it's proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Anyone else like to speak to the amended motion? Councillor Purick.
Thank you, Madam President. Just speaking on the amendment, I think it's a very well-written amendment. I particularly like point 4.4, options to more clearly distinguish between integrated council plan and the established council's long-term strategic direction, but basically making our roles clearer, providing more clarity around that certainly helps me, much like the community engagement framework. It very clearly defines what council's responsibility for. So, I support it.
Thank you, Councillor Purick.
I have another question, if I may, please.
Councillor Lindeman.
How do you distinguish clearly? Where's the measurement of clearly distinguishing with the integrated council plan, the components that establish council's long-term strategic direction, et cetera, et cetera? How do we evidence that the direction that we're giving is actually occurring or isn't already occurring anyway?
I can't answer that. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well,
Are you asking?
I'm asking the question of that if you're providing options to more clearly distinguish, what are those options? I don't know.
Provide options. So you're referring to 4.4?
Yeah, clearly distinguish with the integrated council plan, the components that establish council's long-term strategic direction, et cetera, et cetera. Just like there's one, okay, so July 2027, that's when we need it by. So there's a direction there. I'm not sure if the rest is any different to what we
You're not sure of
you
the
already
process?
do. I'm not sure what the differences are clearly.
Are you asking what are the differences?
What are, okay, how's that? Yeah, what are the differences clearly different to what you're going to be doing in 12 months?
I think, yeah, so we don't know the answer to that. Did you want to speak to the amendment motion, Councillor Lindemann?
There'll be a couple of things I can speak to on the motion, and amended as it is. I do like that we need to put in, and this is ensuring that we put in the vital statistics. So that's important to me, and I think to everyone here. We need the facts. So I think putting that in there is important. Overall, I have some things to talk about the council plan, but I have got an amendment that I've flagged, so I'll wait.
All right.
But that's a good point.
Thank you. I'd like to speak, sorry, Councillor Ringe.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yes, thank you, President McCarthy. I'd like to speak for the motion, the amended motion. And thank you, Councillor Hall. There's a lot of things, a lot of points that you've actually noted there. And one of the main things is, like, this is a very important document for council because it gives us direction. It puts the priorities in. It helps the staff. It guides them what projects they need to be on, and from there. But the thing that's always, or has, the council plan. We used to have two plans, and the Bible, which I used to always refer to as the Bible, was the strategic community plan, because that contained the aspirations, what the community wanted. And the corporate business plan was basically the priorities that we've got there. It's the Shire putting down what strategies we can do and how we can achieve those. So this plan is quite jumbled, should I phrase it that way. So having some clarity on that, and also promoting it to the community that this is their plan, this is their strategic plan. It's not just council, council here to make decisions based on the community's aspirations and their strategic visions. So going from there, yes, so I will support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ringe. Would anyone else like to speak for or against? I'll speak to the amended motion. The process that we have been through has been extensive and structured, and we have had the opportunity to look at this council plan on the way through, and before that we approved it to go out for consultation in its existing format. We have stood beside this plan for some months now, and to now raise an amendment that could quite possibly be, we're an engaged council, we work well with the Shire and the exec. I don't see anything in this amendment that couldn't be carried out through our normal processes of workshops and engagement, and through the next review processes, or through the next desktop review. I don't see anything here that couldn't be part of business as usual. I'm cautious with looking at an amendment that so heavily impacts an already existing process. I know that it takes time for the executive to calendarise their activities. They're being as efficient as possible, and to drop something in where we haven't been able to explore it or ask questions or whatever, we're disrupting that executive process. And I don't think it's a compelling reason to do that. I think we can do this work that's put forward. Thank you, Councillor Hall, in your amendment. I think we can look at this quite carefully and well in our normal processes. So I would encourage councillors not to accept the amendment at this point. I think we can do this without dropping it in the bucket and the water overflowing. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the amended motion? Councillor
May I
Lindemann.
ask another question, please? Would the proposal or the councillor proposing this amendment be interested in doing 4, request the Chief Executive Officer to undertake the internal desktop review, et cetera, and 4.1 updates the demographic, population and community profile information contained within the council plan? They seem pretty solid things that I guess you would have to do based on Bureau statistics, and I think it's really good that it's been, pardon me, highlighted because it's important information. I'm not sure about the rest, but I'm good on that. So that's what I would be interested in supporting.
I'm thinking that wasn't a question and it was you speaking to the motion.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was asking whether
No,
the
it wasn't
amendment.
it wasn't a question.
Can't. Okay, right.
Sorry, you've spoken to the amended motion. Thank you, Councillor Lindemann. Right, would anyone else like to speak to the amended motion? All right, councillors, we'll put the amended motion to, right of reply. One day I'll get it.
Thank you, Madam President. Probably just on your points about the length of time we've gone through working on this document, I agree. There's been multiple workshops, there's been lots of interfacing, lots of consultation. Some of the opportunities to contribute were outside of normal hours. Sometimes they were in the middle of the week during work hours. Access to this has not always been able to be done at the right time. That's others have the opportunity to review these things. So I've made my proposal based on my involvement and my experience in the process. Everyone does review these documents differently at different paces and at different times. So I think providing this amendment at this time is appropriate based on where I am. So on that note, kindly disagree with your points about not reviewing it at the right time and contributing feedback. This is my contributing of my feedback in the way that I have been able to. So on that note, I do agree that the ABS data is extremely important. That's why I added it in. The rest, I still am very much moving as part of this amendment. I think it is important. It is no way pouring water on anything that's been done by anybody. It is simply a discussion. If the report came back to say there was no improvements to be had or no examples that were found, that would be fine with me. So I do stand by it as it is and recommend my fellow councillors' support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillors, we'll put that to vote, the amended motion to vote. All those in favour? And all those against?
Councillor Lindemann and President McCarthy.
That's carried. And that becomes the substantive motion, which was moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hall. Would anyone like to? Councillor McNabb has just left chambers. Would anyone like to speak to the for or against the now substantive motion? Councillor Lindemann.
Yes, I just have a tiny amendment I would like to add to this particular
Thank you.
council plan.
And what is it?
I haven't, I apologise, but the computer shut down and my information's not there. Yeah. Shall I, can I speak to this motion? I will do that. My small amendment was just under, firstly, the biodiversity strategy. Actually, I have to ask firstly, does the CARG group still exist? The CARG CARG group still exist, firstly?
Yes. Oh, sorry, CEO? No, it still exists. The only thing that doesn't exist is a project officer, and the forward thinking is, no decision made, is that the CEOs will manage that activity between them.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll speak to this motion in a little amendment, and it's basically under biodiversity strategy. You've got you're naming a natural resource management officer for 2030. Now, yeah, so that's what you're
Where-
asking
What
for.
does the amendment read?
Yeah, this is, I'm just kind of talking to what that amendment would look like, was to change that name to Natural Resource Management and Climate Resilience Officer.
What, where are you on the plan?
Oh, well, I can't tell you.
On the recommendation?
I think it's page 38 on the plan. Is it 38? Sorry, I'm only by memory because it's
So
not
we're in
in
the attachments?
the attachments on the actual plan itself.
Just take a moment while we
Yeah,
get that.
sorry.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And I'll still keep talking, of course. I like.
No, we'll wait and get that.
Okay.
Thank you. And Councillor Lindemann, we're waiting for to get that up.
Thank
And
you.
we haven't got a seconder yet, so we'll
Okay.
just wait.
Oh, I've got one bit more, that's all.
Okay. Councillor Lindemann?
Okay. So it's a renaming, just a small name change. And that where it's marked 2030, that you would be getting an officer, I'd be looking at 2728. So you put dollars next to it for 2930. I would want to bring that forward to 2728. Would that be right? So recruit a natural resources management officer to complete priority projects, including the development and implementation of biodiversity strategy. You'd still be doing that, but you'd be changing, bringing it in earlier. Yep.
Essentially, you're moving the dollar sign.
Yes. Correct. To 2728. Yep. And you'd be renaming it rather than just a natural resource management officer. It'd be a management officer and climate resilient, or management and climate resilience officer.
Thank you, Councillor Lindemann. Before we go any further,
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask if that's possible to be implemented.
So look, that change can happen. I guess it all then comes down probably to my remarks to a previous question around the review. Obviously, this is part of the workforce plan feeds
Yep.
into this and the budget, etc. So
Yep.
I guess, we know, and something myself and Mr Young worked through was for 26, 27, making sure we could
Yep.
deliver that, and that's in the
I
budget, in
understand
the current
that.
budget. But for next year, yeah,
27,
I think
28.
I think you're going to struggle to be able to afford to put on another employee
Okay.
based on our financial position. But if you wanted to put it in there, that's something we can look at as part of the review and also the budget and
Yeah.
workforce plan development.
And it doesn't necessarily mean one full-time, maybe in a part-time capacity to begin and moving, anyway.
If council's intention is to bring forward that to an appropriate date, then that can be investigated, realising it's not going to be delivered this financial year. You've already adopted your budget.
Yep, sure, I understand that.
But, yeah, I guess the caveat I would put is that we are very financially constrained and
Yep.
we would need to feed it into the budget and workforce plan discussions for the next financial year.
Okay.
Thank you, CEO. We'll ask you to write that into the motion.
All right, and what was your wording, sorry, councillor, for?
Well, it was just a natural resource management and climate resilience officer.
Climate resilience
Yeah.
officer, yep.
Natural.
Resource
Yeah,
management and climate
that's
resilience
what it's
officer.
called already.
And are you happy, councillor, for us to also put in there a note?
Yep.
Note that this would need to be considered as part
Of
of
course.
the workforce plan review and
Absolutely.
the
Budget.
27-28 budget
Yep.
deliberations? Words to that effect? And 27-28 budget deliberations. So, Councillor, do you mind if we just clarify, is that the intent of?
Yeah, may I give a little explanation as to the intent of this?
May you what, sorry?
Give a bit of an explanation of the intent? as
When
to-
when you speak to it, we
Yeah.
have to get it, we have to get
Yeah.
a seconder first.
Okay.
Would someone like to second the amended motion?
Thanks.
Councillor Purick? Okay, Councillor Lindemann?
Thank you. It was just a consideration for, we have numerous things to deal with in regards to water, our energy, forests, climate resilience, and within that, we have an election in March 2029. And it's for us to strategise to be available and ready for either grants or an election promise for some sort of budgetary money, coming through. It's how we manage to get some solar and battery up at our recreation centre. It will allow us to think strategically about what we can do as that approaches to what shovel-ready paddock, initiatives that we have, projects, and it's more really just for the energy and water efficiency initiatives. Also, some of the things that are happening around the Shire are, we don't have so much as a native timber industry anymore. So people are still, at this point in time, able to go and get their wood out of the forest over here. But it's now teeming with people. There's more and more. So I feel like there's things that we need to be addressing that we're not going to be able to do just single-handedly on our own. I don't go up to people every day and say, hey, you're not meant to be in this part of the forest, call DBCA, get over here, have a look at this. In Albany, there is no collection of wood at all for people. And I think it's something we're going to be facing as people move from, well, they come in from Bunbury, they're coming in from other areas and they're collecting wood. I'm seeing them every week out in the forest and it's really disturbing, to be honest. There's all these sort of rules. They're not meant to be on the Mundabiddi Trail. They're not meant to be anywhere near where there's dieback, etc., but they're there. So I feel like having someone in a position that's going to take that on board and have a look at it holistically about what we're doing within a shire and protecting it. We've also got the mining tenements. We've got these other things coming through. I feel that a person in that position would allow us to have a look at it and be able to have a voice and an educated information feeding into the Shire and to councillors about what's going on and perhaps looking after our Shire the best we can in regards to climate and, our biodiversity strategy. Oh, and I did want to say the community plan, Containers for Change, great initiative. Very good how it's been spread out further and further, extending geographically. That's really good. And also, no one's really saying much about it, but the gardens and that you used the grass trees into the gardens water-wise, and they came from that area in which you were putting up the fire shed, was it? Yeah. Fire station in the
Point of order.
rural...
Point of order?
Sorry?
Yes.
Are we still speaking to the amendment?
Yeah,
I'm
still
calling a
speaking to
point of
the member. Sorry, yes, you're right. Okay. But
Chair,
what I'm
no,
saying is the reason
speaking
why
to-
we need an officer and why I would want one was because these initiatives are happening, but with an officer overseeing that, there would definitely be more of those things happening, which ultimately saves us money and gets us grants. So that's why I'm looking at putting someone in that position. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Lindemann. Councillor Purick?
I seconded it to get it on the table, but I'd actually like to speak against the motion. So you do make some very valid points. Yes, there are concerns about firewood collection. I think it raises a lot of questions about tenure. I know it is DBCA or CARMAC land. Yeah, so there are a number of questions there. But more importantly, this plan is a very ambitious plan. It is very front heavy. I believe with the leadership that the ELT has shown that we can achieve this plan, but I am worried about bringing more items further forward and even making it more front heavy. So yeah, I don't support this amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Purick. Would anyone like to speak against the amended recommendation? Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. Look, again, similar to Vice President Purick, I think it's a great idea. However, given the financial pressures that we've imposed, for want of a better word, for the last 2 rounds on the community, need to acknowledge that the CEO very much upfront when started cut back on the workforce plan, advising that it was going to be an interim measure and that there would need to be some movement on that in the coming years. Obviously, that's the current plans within the current budget, but there's going to be a change to that for the next budget. And personally, if I'm still in a position, which I should be next year, to vote or look at the budget at the time, it will be trying to give a little back to the community rather than putting on more positions than we need to, that we've already sort of identified. So whilst it's a very important initiative, to me, bringing that dollar value forward is probably not something that I would be looking to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Would anyone like to speak for the amendment? All right. Anyone like to speak against the amendment? Councillor Ringe?
Yes, thanks, President McCarthy. Look, just looking at the community aspirations, the top 7 actually does not include environmental or natural resources. So in that regards, if we're going towards trying to look at the community's aspirations or what they want for their community, it didn't rank high enough for me to think that this warrants an amendment like this.
Thank you, Councillor Ringe. I think I'll speak for the amended motion because of the note that is applied to it. We do need, in my opinion, some focused effort around natural resource management and understanding. Am I right in, I may be wrong, thinking that this is to do with soil? And some of the most difficult decisions I've faced coming into council were around soil and understanding our land and our planning decisions. So with that proviso that this would need to be considered as part of the workforce plan review and the 27-28 budget deliberations, I feel that brings the areas of issue. For me, it's natural resource management. For Councillor Lindemann, it's climate resilience. I think it does need attention, and I'm at the moment heavily working behind the scenes trying to understand things that this role could possibly be doing. But then again, I am in agreement that we don't want to burden ratepayers with an expense prior to that, and I think that note is quite worthy of that. So in my mind, I'm thinking that this is giving focus to an area of need, and even if it wasn't there, I'd be pushing that as well. But so I will speak I will speak for the motion and understand where it's coming from. Anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Councillors, we'll go right of reply for...
Lindemann would like to just...
right of, I was just saying, councillor Linda would like right of reply.
Sorry, Councillor McNabb.
Oh, no, sorry, councillor McNabb. I remembered for once.
Apologies, it might have been covered last week when I was away. We've moved forward the biodiversity plan, which is one of the key deliverables of the Natural Resource Management Officer in the plan. How do we deliver that without that position?
That's a question, right.
Can I just double check that? So we've got the biodiversity strategy is looking at, yeah, so that's a dollar impost. So that would be similar to other consultancies we're looking at engaging. So we'd be looking at getting that undertaken by a consultant.
Does that answer your question? Would you like to speak for or against the motion with that response?
Or apologies, sorry. The other option is you could bring in a temporary resource to develop that. So that's a different model. Yeah.
All right, councillors, if there's no one else to speak, I'll write
Yeah,
a
thank
and I
you.
remembered before.
Actually, yeah, it
Right
gives
of
me.
reply.
No, I appreciate everyone. I really do. That I know that we're trying to financially do the right thing, but I guess for me, the highest value I put in my life is people, planet, and the environment that I live in. Because without it, you got nothing. All the money in the world is not going to get you that forest out there. And when you go there and you go, all the rubbish and all the trees are down, and I picked up a blinking cockatoo on my way on a bike ride. I'm bringing in new information. You should get me on that. It is upsetting. So I get upset because it matters that much to me and to everybody else when they're out there and they ride their bikes. And I'm sorry I get upset, but my dog died. So I'm a little bit funny about it, but we ran in that bush every day. And I'm seeing new people out there on their bikes and stuff, you can pick me up again, that are really enjoying it. And without it, without natural beauty, it's the whole reason we're here. Without the food bowl, it's the whole reason that we exist. Fresh water, those things are ultimately the only things that we all have in common, is that we all need it. You need shelter, you need food, you need clean air, you need water, and it's why we live here and we love it. And if it's not in the priorities, I don't see half the stuff important if we don't have those things. And then the people that you care about, your community. So when all that disappears, you're left with a bucket of money and that's it. Or holes in the ground, no forest. I don't know, that's what matters to me. So I have to speak up, whether you want it or not, that's okay. I have to speak for what I believe in. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Lindeman. Right, councillors, we'll put the amended motion to vote. Those in favour?
Councillors Lindeman, McNabb and President McCarthy.
And those against?
Councillors Bailey, Hall, Patrick, Ringe and Deputy President Purick.
Thank you. That's defeated. So we go back to the substantive motion being I'm just going to check
Let's go back to the original.
down
Go
to
back to the substantive motion.
you right?
Yep, sorry. Yep.
So that brings us back to councillor Hall's motion with amendment. Would anyone like to speak for or against councillor Hall's amended motion? Excuse me, CEO?
Go back to the substantive motion. Yep. Which is that one?
With the amendment?
Yep.
So
So
with
that's now
councillor Hall's
becomes a
amendments?
substantive. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, and with that one, we've had councillor Lindeman speak. So would anyone else like to speak for or against councillor Purick?
I'd like to speak for the substantive. It is great to see such an ambitious plan. It is a bit front heavy, but like I previously said, with the leadership that's been shown by the executive team, I'm confident that the administration can deliver on it. And yeah, we have spoken on the amendment. I did have some concerns about the vision statement of Discover the Magic, and I was going to move a motion to change that. Councillor Patrick, the comments he made earlier, I have decided not to move that motion. I would still like to speak briefly. I was going to attempt to change it from Discover the Magic to A Great Place to Grow, which was another vision statement discussed in some of the workshops. The Shire of Donnybrook Balingup is an amazing place. We've got beautiful bucolic landscapes and warm, welcoming communities. But is it magical? I'm not sure. It's been built on the back of hard work. Farmers, forestry, quarrying. We're a resilient community that gets on with it when the times are tough. I do love that vision statement of A Great Place to Grow. Donnybrook Balingup is a fantastic place to grow, whether it be individual growth, growing a business, fourth best place to retire in the state. It's a great place to grow old. It's a great place to grow produce and a great place to grow a family. It just goes on. I think we should be celebrating that we're a great place to grow, albeit sustainably. But with the comments that Councillor Patrick has made, I am happy with that. Discover the Magic. I do recognise the concerns of some residents in Balingup that it is very similar to Experience the Magic, but overall, yeah, it's a great plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Purick. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the amended motion, which is now, sorry, the substantive motion? Nope. I'll just note that Councillor Bailey left the room at 6:30. We'll just wait a moment.
I think it's important to easier for the
Yeah. And Councillor Bailey has re-entered the room at 6:32. Councillor Bailey, did you want to speak for or against the substantive motion? Okay. So councillors, will put that to vote. All those in favour of the substantive motion? And that's carried.
It's unanimous. Good discussion.
That takes us on to item 10, elected member motions, and 10.1.1. Oh, I do beg your pardon. We'll go item 9.3.4 first. Agenda briefing session date change, September 2026. Would councillors like to move the executive recommendation? Councillor Patrick, and seconded Councillor Lindeman. Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. Look, not much to say on it other than obviously the recommendation is to reschedule it as a result of the Wolga Local Government Convention, which, you know, we generally get one or more councillors to attend, and I think it's a very, very good thing for the councillors to attend. So it's not going to have a significant impact, I don't believe, on the community. Yeah, it's timely notification, so I think it's a reasonable recommendation, and I don't really see any downside to it, so recommend we support it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Councillor Lindeman.
No, nothing to say.
Thank you. Anyone like to speak against the motion? All right, councillors, we'll take that as carried. Oh, write a reply, Councillor Patrick. Carried. Okay. I need a stamp on my head. Moving on to item 10, elected member motions. And 10.1.1, the Sport and Recreation Master Plan for Balingup. Now, Councillor Bailey, are you going to move your motion?
I'll move. I sent an amendment to that motion earlier on
I've asked for
today.
guidance on that, CEO.
Yeah, I believe just procedure, because it is an elected member motion, Shire President and Councillor Bailey, we do need to move the one that was advertised and in the agenda.
All right.
So my advice would be, without getting too far ahead of ourselves, that you move your elected member motion. If it is seconded, then obviously it's then you can look at an amendment based on what you sent through, or
Thank
indeed another councillor may want to move an amendment if required.
Thank you, CEO. Sorry, we have the,
Yeah, move the
Moving it?
motion, move the
Okay.
motion as it is.
all right
on
then,
the-
and is there a seconder? Councillor Purick? Councillor Bailey, would you like to speak to your recommendation?
I'll speak to the motion. The motion's there. Councillors and the executive team, people in Baileyup are generally pretty happy with what's going on. There was some misunderstanding from a few people about they didn't know and it was everybody else's problem except theirs. But that's been sorted out. And I think it gives us a great opportunity to have a plan that is truly community driven. And they've got some ideas about how we might be able to generate some income out of it. I'm not heavily involved in that at this stage of the game, but it looks like they're working to it, and I'd urge you to support this so we can truly get a community engagement framework.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. Councillor Purick?
Speak to the, yep, sorry, I do second, I reserve the right.
Okay. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Councillor Patrick?
Probably more so questions. Look,
wanna-
the recommendation or the motion's very, very vague in relation to the bailing up community. I mean, I've spoken to quite a lot of members of the bailing up community about this and they've got no idea, no understanding around it. So who is the bailing up community and who is actually requesting this is one question. What is the proposed methodology around what this consultation from the community itself looks like? And part of the recommendation or the motion talks about that they will determine how the plan will be funded, which ultimately the final funding around this would come from council approval based on budget and everything else. And it goes back to, well, look, they're my questions. How will they determine how it will be funded? What's the methodology behind it? And who are the bailing up community that have put this forward? Because, yeah, the number of that I've spoken to have got no idea about it. So they're my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Would anyone like to speak for the motion? Oh, I do beg your pardon. I'm sorry, Councillor Bailey.
That's okay. No, thank you for the questions. Look, I'm not heavily involved in it. One of the recommendations is down there that they, from different group, or 2 or 3 different groups, that they put accommodation down there, some donga type accommodation for the soccer club and for different clubs coming in from out where. I was advised today that the Bailing Up Progress Association is behind it. And the amendment I would like to put on this later on is that we get a monthly report from these people to make sure they're on track and keep them on track rather than just give them the 90 days. We give them the 90 days and go from there.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. Would anyone like to speak for the motion?
Oh, I'd just like to ask a question also, if I may, please, through the chair.
Before you do... Oh, okay, go the question.
The question is, what are the number of people that are requesting this, and was there any reason why they didn't perhaps feel if they didn't have an opportunity to put their views forward, they could have done perhaps a petition or a presentation of what they were proposing?
Look, I know there's a few proposals out there. I don't know why they didn't do a petition. They only needed 100 signatures. I thought it'd probably be easier and better PR for it to come back to council. And, you know, the big problem we've got is communicating with people. And I know years ago we
Just
did.
answer the question, please.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of people didn't know. That's not anybody's fault. It's just people.
It was
Okay,
approximately the number of
sorry.
people. I did ask approximately the number of sort of people, how many people are we talking?
Well, at this stage of the game, they're looking at Ros Benson with her universities, the Bailing Up Progress Association. There is the backpackers coming through, trails people. There's a whole heap of people getting on board now. So, look, I don't know. I'm not heavily involved in it, and I've kept it that way. But I believe it's going to be a great PR for the community to have this little bit of extra time so that they can come up with hopefully something that's going to be very acceptable to everybody.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak for or against the motion?
I've got more questions and, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Ringe?
Thank you. Councillor Bailey, I'll just clarify, the motion you've got up there is to hold for 90 days. There's no mention in that motion that the community will be, what they're going to be doing. Like, is it just the community engagement? Are they looking at actually developing a governance document for council, aka a master plan? Or I just need to expand on what the actual motion is, just for clarity.
Thank you. The community are looking for more input into the program that affects the community. We're investing $60,000 into a plan, and there's quite a few people out there that think they need a little bit more time. And I don't know whether there's a cut-off point that this has all got to be done as far as investing with the group who've already, the consultants. And I just think it's a great thing for the community to have the time. They're looking at different possibilities that will really suit what they need down there, not just a shiny object of a new building or something along those lines. So that's where it's going. They're putting all this together and they just need a bit of time to do it.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. Now, Councillor Hall, have you got a question?
Thank you, through the chair. The master plan that's in question, is there any plans in the coming months to release it or finalise it or anything? And is there a time frame involved in any of this that is impacted if it is delayed? I just need more clarity of where it's currently sitting and what the movements of this document will be in the coming months.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Director of Operations.
Through the chair, thank you for your question, Councillor Hall. There's actually some information that I responded to in I think it's the June OCM. So just to, for the convenience of everyone, there was 5 stages of delivery for the plan. And we were actually basically at the end of stage 4 of the 5 stages. So what I'm expecting any day is the draft plan, and that draft plan is the one that will come to council and have consultation with council. Once council have had that consultation, feedback and input, and that's been managed, for want of a better word, so it's taken into account, then the plan will go back out for further community consultation. And then once that community consultation is embedded, then it'll come back to council for endorsement. So we're right at the end of the 4th stage, expecting that draft plan any day.
Thank you, Director of Operations. Question? Councillor Hall.
Thank you. Just a short follow-up. So, understanding that, I did see the OCM from June. Appreciate those responses. They were quite detailed. So, just to be clear, if anyone is listening at home, there's another opportunity to input into the draft plan as already engaged with the community. It's essentially going to be a framework for anyone that failed to participate in the previous consultation to have their say. So, no one's missing out on opportunity. Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. I'm taking that's you speaking. Thank you. Okay. I need you to put your hands up, and I need to be clear whether you're going to be speaking or questioning. Okay. Now, would anyone like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor, you've already spoken.
No, I've asked a question.
Sorry. Okay.
Sorry. So look, unfortunately, as much as I want to support, obviously the members are bailing up, for me, I'm speaking against this proposal. One, because there is no detail to say who the members of the community are, what the methodology is, what their plans or hopes actually are. The groups that have been mentioned, being the BPA and then the medieval, which is still an umbrella part of the BPA, part of this original Bailing Up master plan came about as a result of members or different groups of the community feeling they weren't represented by some of those umbrella groups, particularly the BPA. It doesn't represent everyone within the community, the younger generations, the sporting groups, all those sorts of things. So as we talked about previously around the empowerment side of things, you run a risk of bias, you run a risk of really not, particular groups not necessarily consulting with the broader community and getting a true representation of what's wanted and what's going on. And without any understanding of the methodology or the intention behind what this motion's actually asking us to do, I don't feel that I can in good faith say, yes, we should be postponing what we as a council agreed on without, like I say, without any of that detail to actually explain why we would make a decision to change a previously made decision. So that's why I don't support it and recommend that the councillors don't. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Would anyone like to speak for the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Purick.
Just a quick one. We envision any costs in delaying by 90 days? Cost to the Shire.
Through the chair, contractually, I don't think there's any costs. They'd be any additional cost. Obviously, they could claim for work done, which would be within the current purchase order. So there wouldn't be any additional costs, I don't think, no. So, sorry, that's a bit vague, but yeah, I could imagine they just need to be paid for the work done, if that was the case. So no additional cost to council.
And then that work would be repeated, would it?
Not sure, Chair.
Okay. All right. I'm going to speak to the motion. I'm going to speak against the motion and encourage councillors to reject it. While I respect Councillor Bailey's intent in bringing forward a request on behalf of the members of the Bailing Up community, I can't support what's being proposed because the recommendation asks Council to place the Sport and Recreation Master Plan on hold for 90 days, but it provides insufficient information for us to make an informed decision to do that. It contains no assessment of the impact of the delay. There's no risk analysis, no financial implications, no policy considerations, and no meaningful officer advice. The things that we're normally used to in reviewing a report and a recommendation. Almost every requirement of the report to Council is absent. As elected members, we have a responsibility to make decisions based on evidence, transparency and good governance. This report simply doesn't provide the information that we need as a council to properly assess the consequences of putting a strategic project on hold. Importantly to me, Council has only recently adopted a new community engagement framework which commits this organisation to the principles of transparency and accountability and inclusiveness and evidence-based decision-making. And underlying this report, there's been a recent period of community consultation on the Sport and Recreation Master Plan, and however the outcomes of that consultation haven't come back to Council yet, and we haven't had a chance to look at that feedback, nor have they been communicated to the community. We haven't yet completed the very process that was undertaken to seek community input. So to suspend the project now, before we've had the opportunity to consider the broader feedback that has already been received, would undermine the purpose of that engagement process, and it would effectively override the feedback that we've already been provided with by the community members who participated in good faith and expect their views to be considered. So I can't support the report. I understand what's happening, Councillor Bailey, but there is a second round in this structured and community engagement framework. There is a second round of feedback, and I do think that's adequate to And in that interim, perhaps we can explore as a council more the implications of making change. So I would encourage councillors to reject this recommendation with respect. Does anyone else want to speak for or against the motion?
Question?
Councillor Ringe?
Just want to just clarify the process. The draft report comes back to council and then we approve it to go to advertising for further submissions, is that correct?
Director of Operations?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President, through the chair. Not quite. So we're not actually going out for public advertising. We are, though, going to, so the consultant will go back down to Baillinger and conduct another round of public consultation. And then post that consultation, basically do a report of what came out of that and then recommendations to council.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey, have you got a question?
Yeah, question through the chair. So when the consultants come back with what they've got, is there no chance to change that? Is what you're saying they're going to tell us what we're getting and that's it?
It's consultation, it's engagement, and
It's
if
a
you've got
statement.
different-
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, look, ultimately it's council's decision. So what we're trying to do as officers is give you that information and that'll come in the report. That's council's decision, what comes out of that.
Thank you. Now, right of reply, Councillor Bailey?
Sorry, the question was, when it comes back to the Baillinger community from the consultant, is there any input from the Baillinger community at that point or is it a done deal?
Yeah, if I may.
Director of Operations?
Yeah. It's definitely another community consultation step, if that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we're clear, it's a second round. Okay? I think we're clear that it's a second round. Now, right of reply, Councillor Bailey.
Excuse me. I reserve the right as the seconder, and as such, I get to speak before the right of reply. Welcome
been
meeting
asking-
proceeding training.
I have been asking, would people like to speak for and against? So,
Well, as my
Councillor
right of
Purick,
reply,
you're
I
very
can.
welcome to
Thank you.
to
I was
speak.
waiting till everything else had finished. I am supportive of this motion. I have spoken to Councillor Bailey. We have spoken about an amendment to it. I did propose that the Bailing Up community is to provide a monthly progress report to the Shire. I would also say a suitable progress report on the 28th day of each month for the duration of the extension. Should the progress report fail to be submitted, then the extension be revoked and we go back to the process as it was. As alluded to in item 9.2.4, I am very supportive of empowering our local community, especially when it comes to consultation. I see this as the Bailing Up community consulting internally. At the end of that 90 days, they came back to the Shire and consult with the consultant. I support the self-determination of our communities, and with the amendment, I would see it ensures that the community is accountable.
Are you doing an amendment or are you speaking for the motion?
Okay, well, I'm doing an amendment then to that the Bailing Up community submit a progress report on the 28th day of each month for the duration of the extension. Should they fail to submit a suitable progress report, then the extension is revoked and we revert to the...
Councillor Purick, have you got the wording up there?
Yes, I sent it through. Yep, that was it there. I would just like to add a suitable progress report or a... No, I'll leave that wording as is. Yep. I'll speak to the whole motion, but we are speaking to this amendment.
So
No,
you've-
sorry, it needs to be seconded. Yep.
So, yes, is anyone looking to second this amendment? Councillor Bailey? Councillor Purick.
Thank you, Madam President. So I guess, yeah, I suppose getting back to it, there's not a significant financial cost in this delay. Delays are somewhat frustrating, I understand that, but this is empowering the local community. If the community fails to submit a suitable report and fails to properly undertake their internal consultation, then we're back to where we started. It hasn't cost us anything except a little bit of time. I don't see that we've got anything to lose by granting this extension. We're not beholden to take on board exactly what's been said. The community engagement framework, we don't have that in power. We don't have to do what they say. So we're not losing anything by granting this extension. But there is the possibility that we'll end up with a far better outcome for the community. And yeah, to me, that's a no-brainer. So I encourage you to support this amendment and the motion as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Purick. Councillor Bailey.
Look, I agree. I see no extra cost in this at all. There's no deadline for this thing, and I think that restricting this group and coming up with a decent proposal on a regular basis for the executive team and council would show good PR for the community and true consultation.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. Would anyone like to speak for or against the report?
I have a question, please.
Councillor Lindemann.
Yep, thank you. The bailing up community, who is that? Is it the whole community? Who's writing it? Like
Councillor
normally-
Lindemann,
Yes, please.
did you want to speak to the recommendation?
No, I just
Or-
want to ask a question about who the bailing up community is to provide a monthly progress report. Who's accountable? Who's the person that is going to hand the report or send it in? Who are
Councillor
we
Pugh?
asking?
Councillor Purick.
Yep, 2 ticks. Let me just find my notes. Yeah, look, truth be told, I don't know. There is some vagueness about it. No doubt about that.
Thank you, Councillor Purick. Right. Have you got a question, Councillor Bailey?
More a statement.
No,
Thank you.
thank you. Only because you've spoken already. Okay. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. Look, I am speaking against it, and again, it's much similar to my previous. It's totally unclear. There's nothing saying that whoever this group is actually representative of the entirety of the bailing up community, that they have the skill set to undertake the relevant consultation with the broader community. And the groups, or the one group that sort of has been mentioned, I'm very, very supportive of, but the whole reason, well, a big part of the reason this came about was that the broader community fed back that they weren't feeling they were represented by a particular umbrella group. So to put things back in the hands of a particular umbrella group that broader sections of the community have said they don't necessarily feel supported or represented by, defeats the purpose of having consultants coming in and independently engaging with the entirety of the community and the different relevant groups that don't sit within an umbrella organisation. And as such, I don't believe that this is a reasonable recommendation. And again, the fact that there is no clarity as to who the bailing up... I'm a member of the bailing up community. Can I be the person that brings this back? I don't know. To me, there's no clarity around it, and I don't support it, and urge the other councillors to also not support it on those grounds.
Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Would anyone like to speak for the recommendation? Anyone against the recommendation want to speak? All right, councillors, we'll put that to vote. Oh, sorry, right of reply for Councillor Purick.
Thank you, President McCarthy. Look, by approving this amendment, it keeps the bailing up community honest. It ensures progress is made on their internal consultation. Should they fail to undertake that, then we're back to where we are right now. Just the process continues as it would be without this. I believe in self-determination, empowering our community, so I urge you to support this amendment and the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Purick. All right, councillors, we'll put that to vote. All those in favour of the amended,
The amendment.
of the amendment,
Councillors Bailey and Purick.
and those against?
Councillor Hall, Councillor Kean, Councillor Lindeman, Councillor McNabb, Councillor Patrick, Councillor Ringe and President McCarthy.
Which brings us back to the substantive motion. Would anyone else like to speak? We've had that moved by Councillor Bailey and seconded by Councillor Purick. Councillor Patrick has spoken and so has Councillor Hall. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the substantive motion? Councillor Ringe?
Thank you. I'd like to speak against this motion for two reasons. I've actually have spoken to a couple of people in Balingup today, and they were unaware that there were community members actually developing a master plan. They did say that they felt that the engagement didn't capture everybody, and urged the Shire or the OTM consultants to actually, when they do the draft, bring it back, because they sort of would like to review it, what's actually has been written, to give them feedback and possibly make any tweaks from there. So, which the Director of Operations has confirmed that that's the case. So I do urge everybody to revisit this when the draft does come to your community. And the second reason, which has just passed my mind, so I'll pass on that, thanks. But yes, I'll be voting against. Sorry, it skipped my mind.
Thanks, Councillor Ringe. It's getting late. All right, councillors. Would anyone else like to speak to the original motion? Councillor Keon?
To echo Councillor Ringe, I'd be against this motion. Just in the matter of time, Director of Operations has mentioned that the community will get another opportunity to consult and give feedback. So I feel that this particular motion is kind of null and void. So I'll vote against or not be supportive of this particular motion based upon the feedback from Director of Operations and echoing what Councillor Ringe has mentioned. But I do encourage, obviously, the community, if they are passionate about that, to make sure that they give their feedback. So then, there is a positive outcome for that community with this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keon. All right, councillors, would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Councillors, will put that to vote. Oh, sorry, right of reply to Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, but I think everything's been said. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, all those who are for the recommendation,
Councillors Purick and Bailey.
and all those against?
Councillors Hall, Kean, Lindeman, McNabb, Patrick, Ringe and President McCarthy.
Thank you, councillors. Moving on to item 11, there is no new business of an urgent nature. Taking us on to item 12, meeting closed to the public. And the way I will do this is that we will announce the item, 12.1.1, and then we'll close the meeting to the public. And just for those who are watching via live stream or those who might be waiting in the background, we're only going to come back to read the outcome of the motion, and then we will close the meeting. So item 12.1.1 is the CEO's annual performance review for October 25 to May 26, a period of 7 months. This report is confidential in accordance with section 5.23 2A of the Local Government Act 1995, which permits the meeting to be closed to the public, because it is a matter of fact affecting an employee or employees. So would councillors like to move that we close the meeting? Councillor Hall and Councillor Keown. And all those in favour? Carried. Alive? Okay. I'm sorry, Nick.
It's almost up there with the Yeti. Sorry,
Okay, we are live, yes. Okay, public reading of resolutions that may be made public. The resolution carried in confidence was that Council receives the confidential CEO performance review prepared by IPS Management Consultants for the review period October 2025 to May 2026. Notes that the CEO performance review has been conducted in accordance with section 5.38 of the Local Government Act 1995, clause 16 to 19 of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996, the Shire of Donnybrook Baling Up Standard for CEO recruitment, performance review and termination, the CEO's employment contract and the agreed 2026 CEO performance review process. At 3, notes that the CEO was provided with an opportunity to respond to the draft review findings prior to finalisation of the report and that any responses received has been considered. And 4, endorses the CEO performance review outcome and overall rating of competent and effective for the review period. And 5, endorses the key findings, development areas and recommended performance objectives for the next review period set out. Oh, so we'll leave that. And then at 6, endorses the total benefit package recommendation as set out in section 10 of the report, effective from the 1st of July 2026. And 7, authorises the Shire President to issue the written performance review outcome letter to the CEO, incorporating 7.1, the endorsed performance outcome, 7.2, key strengths and development areas, 7.3, agreed key performance indicators for the next review period, and 7.4, any endorsed remuneration outcome. And 8, authorises the preparation of any required contract variation arising from the endorsed total benefits package recommendation, subject to legal review and execution in accordance with the Shire's governance requirements. And that, councillors, brings us to item 13, closure. And I will advise that the next agenda briefing session will be held on, is this the new date? The 19th? Sorry, 19th of August 2026 at 5 p.m. in the Shire of Donnybrook Baling Up Council chambers. And I will declare the meeting closed at 7:21 p.m.